And we're now joined by Ryan Blaney, driver of the number 12 Team Penske Ford. If you have a question for Ryan, please raise your hand. We will get a microphone to you. We're going to start with Lee.
Lee Spencer, catchfence.com. Last year, your teammate Troy Logano won Las Vegas, and I mean, they just focus completely on Phoenix. How important is that race to determining, you know, your future in the postseason?
Is your head okay? Good. Yeah, I mean, it's huge. I mean, you know, just having that prep time for 2 weeks, nothing else on your mind. Like you said, Joey was able to do it with that group last year, and you saw what happened. So it's a huge advantage. I think Larson did it the year before. I think he won the first race of the round 8, and just gives you so much more prep time for that race, and it's just all you're thinking about. So, yeah, that's a big one. Obviously, everyone's gunning to do it. Try to win that one and move on. But yeah, massive. It was massive for our group last year, and it would be the same big advantage for any group if, you know, a playoff car was to win next week at Vegas. Yeah. No, I think Vegas has been a good place for us in the past. I feel like it's been one of our best tracks as like an organization. Something whatever we do in general as a group kind of works for that place, and hopefully it applies this year.
All right, we'll go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Ryan, even with the win last week, when you reset the points, there's a good chance you're probably going to be the bottom half of the group going in because of the few playoff points. So how does that impact decision-making and things, and how you guys look at this weekend? Does there become a point where it's worth to risk 1 or 2 stage points for the 5 or the other, or to give up the chance for 5 potentially, especially with stage breaks back in, as opposed to you could have run it straight through as in the last couple road courses?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely makes it hard for us when we get to the next round, not having a ton of playoff points like, you know, the 24 group or, you know, 19 or the 5 have. Yeah, that definitely makes it tough, and it shows you that running well throughout the regular season, you know, pays dividends. We weren't able to get very good points throughout those, you know, races through the year, but, you know, still, at the end of the day, you try to run as good as you can, try to win a race in that round, and all that stuff kind of goes away. So it just puts you in a little bit worse spot than a couple guys, but, you know, you understand that even going into the playoffs where your playoff points stand and kind of where you stack up around your other cars that you're racing and adjust accordingly. So we don't really dwell on that stuff too much. That stuff kind of is what it is, but this weekend, obviously, it's in our spot. Can you win a stage? Yes, great. Stay out and win the stage, get a playoff point. If you're going to run second, just come in and flip it, you know, and try to set yourself up for the next stage or for the end of the race, try to win and get 5 playoff points. So it makes call on this race a little bit easier for us. And you try to take advantage of being able to call it that way to try to help your playoff point situation.
And one other thing is you've talked in the past about last year's round of 8, and you put things that happened on your shoulders. To have the opportunity to go back a year later, what does it mean to be back in that position and to not have the same issues that happened last year that in your mind feel like cost you a chance at Phoenix? Yeah,
I mean, it definitely did. Driver-related mistakes last year in the round 8 cost us a chance to go on there, and you just hope to learn from that stuff. And if you're in the same position, try to just think about it a little bit differently, and what can you do to alter that outcome, you know, and not put yourself in a bind like that, and hopefully you're running well enough to be able to, you know, like we were last year, to be in those spots again, and, you know, having a shot to win at Vegas last year like we had, you know, trying to think about the bigger picture and not get caught up kind of in that moment and stuff like that. So yeah, just when you make mistakes like that, you hope you learn from them. It's important to move on from them, but you have to learn from them first, and it's nice to be able to have another go at it here in the round 8 and see if we can do a little bit better job this time.
All right, we're going to come up front to Mike Hembry and then go back to Stephen Conley.
Mike Hembry, excuse me, Auto Week. Ryan, are you good with this race staying on the ROVAL long term? And how do you feel about 2 road courses in the playoffs next year?
Yeah, this race, I think it's our 5th year doing it, and I feel like everyone's gotten a good idea of it. It's kind of odd now because the oval's gotten so good. You know, there was, you know, a handful of years ago, this was probably one of the worst mile and a halves that we had on the schedule, just as far as the track raceability. And now I feel like it's one of the raciest, personally, of being able to use all the lanes and it's however it's aged right now, it's kind of like at its great point. And we've seen it the last couple of years and puts on good shows in the 600. And, you know, so I think there's some big decisions that need to be made that are above my pay grade of what you want to do with this race. You know, do you go back to the oval here at some point, or do you keep this one? And yeah, 2 road courses in the playoffs. You know, the Glen being in there, I didn't see that one coming personally. But you know, it is what it is. We have 2 super speedways. We have 2 road courses now in the playoffs, so it's just getting a little bit more unique racetracks that they keep throwing in here.
All right, let's go to Stephen Conley in the middle.
Steve Conley, the podium finish. Ryan, I want to go back to last week, and we watched the video that was put up on Twitter about with your final 5 laps and Josh Williams calling that. A lot of information that went through there. I'm curious about how much of that information you actually process or you taken in, and how many of those moves, maybe the move for the win actually was on you compared to what he was telling you.
Yeah, I mean, I might be biased, but I think Josh is one of the best guys out there, especially when it comes to speedway racing. You know, as far as giving me information, and not only giving a lot of information, but giving useful information, right, and stuff that matters and that I can apply, or just lets me know what's around me. And then kind of, you know, it's a fine line of, you know, there's occasions where he is relaying me stuff, and we've worked together for so long, I can tell maybe in the urgency of his voice that he is telling me to do something without telling me to do it, and I can kind of apply that. Or sometimes, you know, a lot of times he just kind of leaves it up to me and just giving me information on what's available and what's coming at me. So, yeah, that was neat to see someone put that video out there, because it shows how much work spotters do and how much communication goes on, especially at those tracks and really in those moments coming down to the end of those races. And yeah, he was, I mean, obviously big at getting us through there and figuring out a way to try to win the race. And yeah, Josh does a great job. And I feel like it's almost like, you know, those places, you don't have time to get the information, think about it, process it, and like do it. Like you're just doing it as it's coming to you, and you're making your own decisions on what to do. And sometimes they're the right decisions, sometimes they're not. But you know, it's just having that information that the driver can use. It's almost just like a little guy on your shoulder, you know, and it's like your subconscious just reeling through, and your actions are going off of that. So there's just no time to like think about all that stuff. You're just doing it instinctually, and those spotters up there, they're just giving you information that's just kind of in the back of your head that you can apply or not.
And speaking of speedways, so with the schedule next year, Daytona, then to Atlanta, what are your thoughts on that kind of 2 speedway style races, or is Atlanta starting to age enough to where it's losing that feel?
I don't think Atlanta's going to lose any of that super speedway 2x2 drafting sense. I mean, I could be wrong, but as long as you have low horsepower, tall spoilers on them, it's going to be a super speedway race and drafting and stuff like that. So that was interesting that they fired off the playoffs like that, but nothing we can do about it. We have no say in the matter. So I guess the fans wanted to see pack racing, and that's what we're going to give them.
All right, we're tight on time. We only have time for one more question left. We're going to go to Jordan Bianchi.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. You know, last week you won at Talladega. The week before, you had the issue on pit road speeding, right? So I'm curious, when a driver like yourself has that problem at Texas, are you going into Talladega like thinking about that, of more motivation of, hey, I messed up last week, now I kind of put the team on my back and overcome that? Is that any consideration at all at any point throughout that weekend?
Yeah, I mean, when it's like a driver mistake and you are the only one responsible for that mistake, right? You feel obligated to, hey, I got to make up for it. You know, you don't want to make these mistakes and then, you know, just have it kind of dwell on you. So yeah, I think that's anything. Like if you make a mistake or something, you're like, all right, I'm gonna make up for it. You know, if you know, make your friend upset, right, by doing something, missing their birthday party, hey, I'm going to throw you another one, you know, because you feel bad about it and you want to make up for it and be a good friend or a good, you know, good driver for your team, right? So I think those are the best ways to kind of make up for it. But I wouldn't say that motivated me. Like, that didn't motivate me any more than I would have going into Talladega. But, you know, personally to me, it's like, you know, hey, you have an opportunity to make up for this mistake, and let's apply it. But I wasn't like extra motivated, you know, that like, we got to go win this race. I have to show what I can do. It's just, you want to make up for that stuff. But at the same time, you just do your job.
Was there any communication to the team of like, hey, guys, I got this. Like, I screwed up last week, but I'm going to pick us up this week, or anything like that? Or is it just, you know, go about your business and do your thing?
I mean, I think our group does a good job of just understanding the work that's ahead of you and the spot that you're in, and going and accomplishing your goal and doing your job the best that you can. And I think that's anybody. If I make a mistake, if we make a mistake on pit road, you know, whether it's a slow hang, you know, changer messes up, right? They own it, and you support them, you know, no matter what it is, right? And they did the same to me. They supported me, and they picked me up after it and accepted my apology. And in their mind, you know, they said, you know, things happen, forget about it, let's go to work next week. And that's really all you can do. So I think that's what makes a team well, is if you all can band together like that, and that's what makes one team. And I think our group does a really good job at that. Okay, thank you.
Ryan, thanks for joining us, and good luck this weekend.